Hey, everybody, welcome to the Strive Summit podcast. I'm your host, Alex Hanna. And today with me, I have a good Idaho local, Norma. Norma, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Norma Drake. I am originally from Boise, Idaho, trying to make my way slowly but surely over there. Um, and yeah, I've been in the BIM industry for a while. I'm not going to age myself just yet. We'll wait until later on in the conversations. But yeah, currently working for a company, an international company that is doing a lot of work in the high tech industries here in the United States. I'm doing a little bit of BIM management, BIM coordination, project management, just a little bit of everything really that requires or that is required of me. And currently living out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And that's about all I have so far.
This is a jack of all trades. That's awesome.
100%.
So, so Norma, where you're at in your field, have you seen any like tech that's like really blowing your mind? Any software that's coming out that maybe is top secret that you can't share with, but you can give us some details on?
Right? I know I'm trying to think back to my NDA here. But no, honestly, I think there are better people out there that can talk to you, better experts that can talk to you about software and things that are happening. But something that I can speak to that is mind blowing right now is just how the design process itself is changing due to BIM. Um, there's a ton of high tech out there, obviously, right? Things that have existed for a while but are now being utilized in completely different ways, like laser scanning, right? I mean, that's been around for decades now, but the processes that are being um, created now, the workflows and how it's just basically turning the design process on its head. Those are the kind of things that I can really speak to. That's been the most impressive. I have an architecture background. I was an architect for a minute and I transitioned over to the VDC side. And that's really what's been very mind blowing lately is just how, um, as we know it, right, the traditional design process is just changing. I think before it was kind of said, this is where it's headed. And I think we're finally getting there now where the industry is really going to have to start changing just our habits and how we used to do things.
Yeah, I was going to say laser scanning has come a long way just in the past, you
Yeah.
know, 5 years alone. Because I mean, now you got the RCN conference, which is all about reality scanning and surveying and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you have these people selling scanners, and usually a lot of companies are just having scanners on hand now because they're finding it cheaper than renting or having some special guy come out. Because
Right.
nowadays they're not overly complicated and they track everything you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, you can even get a little robot dog running around with a scanner
Yeah.
on it and do it automatically. Like there's tech is
Yes.
mind blowing right now with scanning, and the capabilities are amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
what I really want to get into today is Norma, how you got from A to B. So where you started, where you came from to working your way up to being a jack of all trades from BIM management, signing NDAs for secret software and technology. It's like just really working your way through. How did you start from A to B?
Oh man, how much time do we have? Is this going to be like a 2 day episode? Because that's about what.
Unlimited amount of time. Yeah, keep
Okay.
anything you want to share.
Oh my goodness. So, like I said, I started in architecture, and I was a kid in elementary school and in middle school that really was into Lego, and so, um, coming from a family that had a little bit of technical background, um, it just kind of started molding me into this career field of architecture. I honestly had no idea that that's like what it entailed, what I wanted to do. I just remembered really liking, like seeing, ideas come to life in the construction side, right? The built environment, all that stuff. And took the high school aptitude test, and they were like, you need to go into construction. And of course, back then it was like, oh, you're a girl, you can't do that. You might as well go get a degree. So that's what I did. I went into architecture. I had a great time at school, University of Idaho, go Vandals. Um, had a great time
I'm
at
gonna I'm gonna
school.
keep that one to myself, but okay.
I always love to bring that up with people in
Hmm.
Boise. It's my favorite.
Hmm.
But yeah, so going through school and things like that, I started to notice that there was a lot of construction that wasn't being um, taught in the architecture side. As much as as surprising as that is, it was a little disappointing for me because I figured, I love construction, that side of things. The creative side of me, of course, was satisfied, but I really wanted to be out there and building things and everything. Um, and so, by the time I realized that, it was a little late. So I still continued getting my architecture degree, and slowly but surely getting introduced to something like Revit, right? I mean,
Hmm.
Revit has been around for a minute as well too, but not to its capabilities that it is now. I remember, doing our thesis in AutoCAD, in AutoCAD 3D, and there was a couple people that were like, you know what, I'm going to do it in Revit, and if they fail me, they're going to fail me. And just in talking with them, that's what started really sparking my mind into being like, there's something better here. We could be doing this so much better. Um, so that translated again into me being an architecture intern, working, on designing parking lots and changing the 500 sheet CD sets, and raising my hand and being like, have you guys heard of this thing called Revit? Like, I could literally change this one thing in one place, and all my sheets are going to be, you know, updated. I don't have to sit here and open every single file.
I honestly remember trying to introduce Sheet Set Manager, and that was a disaster. I was like, just
Right.
do this thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways,
Yes.
please continue.
Even,
Yeah.
yeah, even when Sheet Set Manager came on AutoCAD, it was just this mind blowing thing. But architects were like, or the ones that I was working with, right, were like, no, let's keep our head down. Let's just get our work done. This has to be
This is the way
into the
we've done it
city.
forever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. This is how we've been doing it. Why break it, right? Or why change it
Hmm.
if it's not broken? That kind of thing. Um, and so again, that just started just I'm like, okay, well, so my favorite part, right, was getting out to the job sites. And so in my head, I started thinking, okay, I need to start getting into more of a job that's going to get me out there to see how things are built, how things are constructed. Um, and so at the time in Boise, I was living in Boise, and did that. There wasn't really a lot of that going on. There was small, industrial things happening. There was maybe a shopping center or two, maybe some residential, but nothing that was really, how should I say, pushing the limits and, being innovative or anything like that. So, life changes happened. I became a military spouse, and that kind of allowed me to then forcibly be moved other places, to other states, things like that. Um, and in that, I was able to find industries and get different jobs that were in places where they were actually testing out new technology, right? So I worked for TechStop for a minute. They were starting to do things like capturing existing conditions of the roadways and infrastructure. So they
Mm.
were starting to use, at the time it was photogrammetry. They were using laser scanners. They were using laser scanners that were mounted on their work trucks, and they would drive down these rural roads, and they would count, the stripes. It would let you know the striping, things like that. And so, I started to kind of do a little bit more of the BIM side there. And again, that just kept like me more interested. I was like, yes, more, more, more.
Hmm.
And so then, just like I said, moving around different industries, different states, I got the opportunity to work with different companies that were into technology and kind of not the traditional design side of things. And here I am. It's like um, all that has led me to where I am today, which is, kind of working in the high tech industry with BIM. And um, yeah, we'll see where it leads from here.
That's awesome. So these little places you've jumped around to, obviously because you had to move and you're still trying to find a job. When COVID hit, was the remote work more stable for you, or did you still hop around at that point?
No, so at that moment, I was working for a company where we were actually brick and mortar, and
Hmm.
we immediately from like a Tuesday, by Wednesday, we were remote. Projects still had to get done and things had to get done, even though offices were being closed at the time. So I
Hmm.
was able to, at that moment, fully transition into remote work. Um, yeah, so I've been working kind of remote ever since. I've been traveling to go on sites and things like that, but for now, it's been remote ever since the pandemic.
That's exciting. Okay, so as a little girl growing up playing with Legos and getting told that you should go into architecture and construction, what was that feeling you had when you were like, okay, I'm going into architecture? Was it nervousness? I mean, at that point, male dominated field possibly, or did you get into school and realize, oh, it is for everybody?
Great question. So as a little girl, I mean, I was lucky enough to be raised to where it was like no limits, right? So I didn't even think about,
Awesome.
you can do this, you can do that, or
Hmm.
it's a male dominated this or that. I never really paid that much attention, be it my being naive or something. I don't know. Um, so I just thought it'll be really cool to draw something and to go build it. Honestly, in my tiny head at that moment, that's the world that I lived in. I was like, I want to do that. I want to take something from paper and go see it built in real life. And um, it was kind of around that time where they Lego went from like just selling you the big buckets of bricks
Hmm.
to where like they started actually providing a little booklet with like 30 little designs you could do,
Hmm.
and then kind of transitioning into the very elaborate things that we see today, right?
Yep.
um,
Yep.
and so in my head I was like, I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna
That-
go work for Lego and we're gonna build real life Lego houses and this is gonna be fantastic.
they're doing that now. Did you see
I
that?
am. I kind of am, yeah.
Did you see that house that got created out of Legos?
Yes, that's incredible. And how they do cutouts in their walls and
Hmm.
it's incredible. I'm kind of jealous actually.
Yeah, Lego as a toy is great, but if you think about it as like an engineering tool in general, like I see all these videos on LinkedIn about, or even like YouTube, about engineers taking these little Connects motors, and you see the car driving across a gap, and it puts it in different. I mean, I could watch that stuff for days, and I
I
was
know.
like, man, if I was only 8 years old again and I saw these videos, I'd be so much smarter today.
Talk about going down the rabbit hole. I know. Me, just every once in a while I walk over to my kiddo, she's watching YouTube and she's
Hmm.
like, "Look, check this out." And it's just like, let's do it.
Yep.
So entertaining and still I don't think that'll ever go out of my interest, honestly. I think it's so cool. And yeah, it just how it ties to VDC too is just
Hmm.
it's amazing. It's cool.
Well, the gamification of construction, right? I imagine at some point during architecture, you were like, okay, I want to do more, right? There was
Mhm.
probably a point where you were like, the 100 sheets of making the same change over and over again, not for me. I want to do something more. Well, in construction, the gamification of it, like between, and I've probably said this a few times already on a couple podcasts, if you play The Sims and then you do Revit and you go
Mhm.
to build a wall, the same clicks and actions are exactly the same.
100%.
Like it's click wall, drag, and that's it. And
Yes.
it blows my mind that we pretty practically for a living play Sims every day. That's our career. If you're
Yes.
out there and you're listening and you love playing The Sims, get into BIM modeling.
I
This
can
is your calling right now.
Yes, and I can take that a bit further. So the generation that's coming up right now, you guys are talking about Minecraft, you guys are talking about Roblox. It's incredible to me to watch. I mean, even just I have an 8-year-old, right? The way she navigates the 3D space, just
Hmm.
like you said, right? Like it's like a game. And in there you can just go in there and build anything. And so I think for our generation, if you were lucky enough to play like Mario, right, where all of a sudden you switch from like linear Mario, where you're just like doo doo, and then all of a sudden you're exploring the world, it's
Yep.
kind of like that. But now I feel like little kids have access to that anywhere they go, anywhere they turn, and so it's kind of incredible how this next generation. I'm very curious how that's going to work. Um, Like one story I always love to tell is for one of our work parties, we did like a 3D model, like 3D modeling of we were doing like gingerbread houses, and it was one of those like after work pandemic style kind of
Mm-hmm.
happy hours, you know. And of course, our families were allowed to join, and a lot of us had our kids. And my daughter came up, and she was 5 at the time. She sat on my lap, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, let me show you." I pulled up Revit. I gave her my mouse, and I was like, "This is a wall." And you know, you go to component, and this is the list. You can scroll down, and you can place little things. And she, like I said, she was 5 years old. She's literally over there building, like just designing this little house. And um, to me, it's like people go to school for this stuff, and you're 5, and just because you're playing this video game every single day, you can literally work in Revit right now. If there wasn't any like child laws, I would totally have you be my apprentice because yeah, it's just incredible what you know, how generations are going to be so much better at all this stuff.
There's a real opportunity for that next generation to kind of come in and like change the game completely. We're given all these tools by great developers, such as, you know, going from Revit to Twinmotion or to like Unreal Engine. There's people that are already taking their models and putting in Unreal Engine and then making zombie, you know, first person shooters out of it. You know, it's like
Yep.
you build this thing in Revit, you take your time with it, you really organize it, and then now you make it a video game. And it's as
Yeah.
simple as like a few transitions.
Yeah.
Uh, there's
Absolutely.
e- there's even people taking their Minecraft model and importing it. I think it's into Revit or vice versa. And that to me blows my mind. I'm not even there yet, right? But like you said, the next generation's grown up on this 3D space and understanding 3D space. When I'm teaching Revit, sometimes I come up with you know, put a box in front of you to imagine 3D space, especially when you're training someone going from Bluebeam to Revit or CAD to
Mhm.
Revit, right? They've never experienced that 3D space and they've been doing this for 40 years. And that's like when drafting wasn't
Mhm.
drafting anymore.
Right.
So when I went to school, we had a hand draft. So we learned how to hand draft, and if that was my career, I would hate it absolutely. and then and then it was standard AutoCAD. So you go through and you do AutoCAD, which is basically hand drafting on a computer. It was
Mhm.
amazing at the time when it came out. I was able to do it when I learned just by the keyboard and coordinates. It was never a mouse. Um, and then you get into these softwares like 3D CAD. Okay, well, this is a little different. And then there's 3ds Max, and then there's SolidWorks, which is the kind of the path I went down originally because I didn't want to get into architecture and stuff. So I was doing SolidWorks and Inventor and stuff, and doing the whole parametric modeling beforehand. And then getting into Revit, it was like the same thing, just
Mhm.
buttons. It's just crazy where the next generation is going to take us because on top of robotics and everything, we're going to have this amazing tool that's Autodesk is listening. Revit's probably not going to last for the next 10, 15 years because there's going to be so many
You're
more
gonna you
softwares
just
coming
got
out.
canceled.
I know,
You
I
just
know,
got canceled.
I know. I'm canceled. This is the last episode of the summer podcast. No, I think, you know, there's always going to be software out there that's going to compete. I mean, even now there's you know, ArchiCAD and SketchUp and those little, and they're out there doing what they need to do.
Mhm.
Revit right now is just a big basic standard because Autodesk has, you know, all these softwares that is under Autodesk, and every software is supposed to talk to each other. And there's AEC, which is still used even if you don't have Autodesk. You know, so I
Mhm.
think Revit will be around for a while, but I don't think it's going to be on top forever. I think
Right.
because that next generation developer is going to come in and say, "Hey, why don't we just make The Sims the game and make
Yeah.
construction for it rather than having to use this complicated thing?" You know,
I'm
or
surprised the developers of Roblox haven't decided to be like, I'm going to take this little game here and I'm going to open it up so that we're going to absolutely delete or like make architects and engineers obsolete. Like,
right,
you know, Joe Schmo at home could just come in and design their own home, and we're going to ship it off to a manufacturer. They're going to ship you, you know, in a few weeks, your little like you know, assemblies of walls and things like that. You get a couple teenagers to click them together, and boom, you have your new house.
the whole world's going to go to hell. You know that, right? This has to be the last episode. Um, no, I agree with you. You know, the Sears catalog home that you used to buy, like you could buy a house in the catalog. That's all
Mm-hmm.
coming back. You know,
100%.
I
Yep.
mean, you see all these prefab manufacturer houses with here's all your walls and all your floors, just slap it
Yeah.
together, and it's like, oh, yeah, this was back in the day when you had to nail everything together by hand. This is a Sears house.
Yeah.
It's incredible where
Yeah.
technology is taking us today.
It's almost like, yeah, it's almost like, you're gonna have a two-bedroom house, but it's gonna be such multi-purpose. Like, do
Hmm.
you need a guest bedroom in your office today? Modular. Here comes the walls that do this and that. Yeah, it's really impressive, and I'm really, really excited. I mean, this is like exponentially changing year by year.
Hmm.
So it's not like, oh, my kids and their grandkids. It's like, no, like probably in 5 years, you're going to see something completely different. And it's just going to
Yep.
be so mind boggling with AI and where everything's just going, automation. And it's just like, it's crazy.
Do you remember seeing the videos of the semi trailer that would come out and a house would fold out of it?
Yeah.
I literally saw one of those on YouTube the other day. You bought it off Amazon.
Yeah.
It came out, all the walls folded out. It was a house. It had a bathroom in it. It had a kitchenette you can buy or whatever. You had to put electricity in it, but it was plumbed and ready to go. And
Hook it up to the internet, man.
I was like, who is this influencer that just bought this house off Amazon that I've been like seeing videos and dreaming of forever? Someone actually did it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we take so much for granted today. We do.
Yeah, and I mean, even just like things like if you're watching like sci-fi movies, right? Movies that are like based in the future, and you see these guys, it's like, let's pull up this map of this building so we can go attack or whatever, right? And they're just like over here with their holograms and like pulling this and that, and finding all this information that, like, to me, that's not 2450 as these movies say. That's like literally like
Next
in
year.
yeah, that's in 10 years from now. You're going to be able to, with the existing conditions, with, all this laser scanning and documenting what's out there and stuff like that. Pretty soon, I mean, people are going to manage their facilities that way. And by soon, I mean this year, so
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
really, really interesting.
even with like companies like Argyle that uses the HoloLens, right?
Yeah.
They're using VR and HoloLens. Now you're walking a site with on-site conditions that are built compared to the model that was built, and now you're seeing things that need to be moved or incorrect or changed in your model or changed on site.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, did you know if you get into construction, you can play with a VR headset all day?
I know. I think that's And see, somehow little me playing Mario and playing Lego, like, we just had this feeling, this 30 years ago, I was like, this is where this is headed. I know it.
Yeah, and
And here we
it's
are.
been
It's exactly what we're doing.
it's been amazing to watch this tech come through. And again, I people are taking it for granted because they do it every day. It's a repetitive task. But when you really think about it, like there are people that dream of like people like you and me growing up dreaming of something like this today, and
Right.
we fall into this industry, digital construction, BIM. I don't think unless you're an architect or engineer, everyone else falls into it.
Hmm.
There is no straight career path to be, I'm going to be a BIM modeler. Nope, there is
Right.
no career path for that. You fall into it. One of the paths I've been kind of really pushing is, our trades are diminishing.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's going to change. But what could change is the education of the people behind the computer for the trades.
Right.
So when you're out of high school, you don't know what to do, go be a plumber, go be an electrician, go be a HVAC sheet metal guy.
Hmm.
Take your 4 years of experience and ask any contractor for a job to do BIM, and they would hire you on the spot.
Like this.
Yep. And, I mean, are you looking for people right now, Norma?
100%.
So if you're in
Plug,
construction right
shout
now,
out. Yeah, let me know. LinkedIn, get with me. Yes, cons- just looking for people who want to learn this business, right?
mhm,
Um, anything. I mean, it's like you said, I think that's another really awesome thing about this. I think the trades are going to make a huge comeback, because before, you'd think, oh, well, I'm going to be a tradesman and I'm going to be working on site. And that turned a lot of people off, right?
mhm,
Um, it's like, okay, well, you still need to go put in some time. Don't get me wrong, right? You have to go learn
yep,
what to do in the real world, because that's just how it should be and how it is. Um, but you can come back and literally build what you're doing through your VR headset or your computer, right? Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, hit me up.
I see a time in the future where VR headsets are that's the new Revit is you're in VR and you tell a plumber who's been a master plumber 60 years, doesn't want to retire but can't get on his knees, he's an old guy sitting in his lazy boy. Okay, give him this headset and say, okay, I want you to plumb this building for me in digital, right? And so he
Mm-hmm.
can just go in and from his master plumbing skills design this model for the
Yep.
next plumber down the line to learn. So yeah, get into trades. If it's not for you, go into BIM. Like I said, anyone with any kind of experience and you're out there right now and you hate the trades and you're in it right now, go ask any contractor to draw.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't hire you, call me and I'll help you find a spot. Because I
Yeah,
promise
shoot me
you
a
there.
message. All of us in VDC right now know somebody who would hire you on the spot, would teach you, put you through Revit
Mm-hmm.
training, through any ArchiCAD, anything that you want or that they use. They will put you through training just because you have enough
Yeah.
knowledge of the trades for sure.
Y'all are basically unicorns right now for the BIM side, and everyone is hiring for BIM. I
Yes.
don't know. I have never been to a place where someone was like, "No, we're not hiring anymore."
Yeah.
Everyone is always hiring for BIM. It's an in
Yes.
demand, very in demand need right now in
Hmm.
construction, especially people with field experience. So, again,
Absolutely.
if you're out there and you don't want to be in the field, call Norma.
Call us. Let me know.
Norma, I love your story. Your story is so great. Have throughout the different companies you worked with past your architectural days, what were what industries were those in? Were those in like typical manufacturing industries, MEP industries, or were you like DoD kind of stuff?
Everything. So I did design builds, like pre-engineered steel buildings, uh, industrial design, and construction. Definitely like civil infrastructure, roadways, bridges, that kind of thing. Culverts. Don't get me started with my stories about going into culverts to capture existing conditions and winter, or I mean middle of summer in Texas. Okay, there's like snake guards that
Yikes.
had to happen, like we're just, it's terrible. um that, I mean, worked in semiconductor, in just old buildings, I guess 100-year plus, that you're trying to capture to renovate or to even just try to capture like as built
Hmm.
for, honestly, you name it, I've probably seen it.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh no.
Come on, you knew that one was coming.
Oh no, yeah. To me, I think there's something really, really cool about old architecture and buildings that are like 100 years plus,
Hmm.
and people out there who are trying to preserve them and to restore them somehow. Even if they were built 150 years ago and plus or whatever, BIM is still a thing for it, and it's like the perfect thing for it, right? You get out there, laser scan it, get existing conditions, build an actual working model for it, and I guess save it. I think that's something that's so cool. I think that's my favorite. Just to kind of even see how things used to be built compared to now. How you're able to kind of problem solve and say, okay, this is how we're going to go about making sure this wall is no longer tilting to the side, without tearing the thing down, and using the techniques from back in the day to kind of keep it, for future generations and stuff like that. I think that's my favorite. But yeah, I have too many favorites. I could be here all day as well.
So this is a good question that I mean comes up a lot with a lot of talks and stuff is what do you do with all of that scan data, all that extra data, client wants it, they don't know what they want to do with it. Even with the model, client has a model. So what are some things that maybe you could tell a client that's like, you know what, with this you can do all of these things. What is some things that you'd recommend a client to do with the model, let's say after the project's done or the scan?
Yes. First of all, go 3D. Don't. Don't go scan somewhere, spend the money and spend the time or whatever um, to go scan something and want AutoCAD drawings from it, like 2D. No, just don't do that. So go 3D immediately, right? If you're going to get something out of the scan, go definitely 3D, because from there it just sets you up for so much. I mean, you're talking, again, getting measurements. You can, if you're in the real estate, right, you can actually charge per square foot. That's actually reality. Versus, having an architecture intern going over there and being like, that looks like 30 feet. Like, no,
Put
it
my
could
yeah.
be, yeah, it could be, 34 feet, and that, times 100 will up your real estate space. You can get into facilities management later on,
Hmm.
where you can actually know exactly what you have. And, things like Kobe, right, where you're actually noting every single piece of equipment and maintenance schedules and light bulbs and everything. So you can really have a very, your finger on your building like that, and say, in 5 years, this is how much it's going to cost me because these things are going to have to be replaced, blah blah blah, right? Even down to how much paint you're going to need. You're going to say, I need, so many gallons of paint in 10 years because that's how long this is supposed to last, or um, things like that. Obviously, for renovation, right? Tenant improvements, people who do TIs, you're able to very quickly know and say, well, this is how we can reconfigure the space, or we can redesign this to fit this type of industry rather than this type of store that's there now. Um, oh man, so much. Call me.
You brought up Kobe, which is great because I will tell you, Kobe's one of those things that I don't want to touch because I feel like yeah, okay. Kobe is one of those things that are 100% facility maintenance, and if you are going to use your model as facility maintenance, you need to use a Kobe or something of the sort. Because, like you were saying, imagine an owner of a building wants to purchase manufacturing plant specifically, right? You can have deadlines for what do you call that, repair or maintenance on all your machines, and you can even have like this one use a rubber belt that's gone in 35 years or needs to be replaced every so many parts and pieces run through it.
Right.
Well, you can tell Kobe, I'm going to run average of this many parts per thing. I'm going to replace it in this many years to be safe. You can also cross check that against what's currently running through it. So Kobe is this other massive, massive thing on top of what building information modeling, Revit, 3ds Max, all that stuff is too. Um, and if data entry is your thing, Kobe is your place to go.
If you
All you,
love Excel, if
oh
you kind
man,
of wanted to go into accounting, but you decided to go into construction, Kobe is your guy.
hmm and it's crazy. Is I mentioned drafting earlier. When I went to school, I went for drafting technologies,
Hmm.
and that's what it was. Now you can go to school for drafting now, but you're not learning drafting anymore. You're learning BIM. There is
Right.
no drafting. Is unfortunately,
I
it's a
gotta show
dead
you.
art right now.
2 seconds.
What do you got for me? Why don't you explain to our viewers what that is?
Remnants of, I keep this around because it just reminds me of how hard it was to get where I am, honestly. This is a T square, everybody.
Is that how big is that? Is that your 3 foot?
Yep, this is the
Yeah,
table one.
yeah. So for people who don't know, drafting used to be hand drafts. So down
Hmm.
to the lettering, the line work, the notes, you really couldn't like you shouldn't mess up.
You
Not
shouldn't.
that you
Yeah.
couldn't, but there was so many rules and stuff to follow, and there's a lot of things that kind of track through. So line weights was a good one. I had so many different pencil line weight types for so
Yeah.
many different things, and now CAD was like, oh, I could just set the size. That's awesome. Now Revit's like, I don't care about line weights
Plot
anymore. So
styles, yeah.
yeah, it's so we've gone so far since drafting, and I think it's a dead art. And I've gone to start collecting a lot of the old drafting tools, even down to like, well, my background was mechanical, so I have little calipers, and I have the
Hmm.
pocket buddy caliper thing that everyone had. Yeah, I'm such a loser. But I loved that portion of it. And so in BIM, we go beyond that now. And so if you want to go into drafting, no, it's no longer hand drafting. It is 3D modeling. You are creating buildings, and if you're in architecture, you're doing crazy stuff within different softwares too. Can
Mhm.
you kind of talk on that? So in architecture school, you were using Revit, or did you even touch software?
No, so funny. There was actually a VDC minor that you could get, and at the time it was more like what's it called, like visual arts. So it was kind of like modeling for video games or TV, right? That kind of stuff. It wasn't anything to do with our degree. So I was like, why would I take that? Um, I wish I would have. I think it would have been so much fun. But no, back in the day, we were using AutoCAD. We were still, granted, at some point we got into like AutoCAD 3D,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't exactly use it to its capability. So everything that we had to do, we were still doing sections and we were doing or axons. We were doing, wait, did I say that right? See, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't
I didn't
even
go to
remember
architecture school.
anymore. Yeah, you know the drawings where you had to like you had your perspective and you were looking at it from I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we were doing all those in AutoCAD in 2D.
Isometrics.
Isometrics, yes, and
I'm
there's
trying to
another
think of the
one.
name.
I can't remember the name of it.
Well, you did it.
We made it. We survived it. Is what the moral of the story here is. We made it.
Yes, Norma, that's awesome. If you had any advice for any of the people out there that are coming out of school, don't know what they want to do, thinking about the trades, thinking about construction, or just like generally don't know what they want to do, what's some advice you can give to these guys for maybe switching into construction and maybe finding a spot for them to fit? Because we talked about so many things from um, accounting with Kobe, data entry, 3D modeling, down to trades, architecture, engineering. So, what are some stuff that you'd say?
Oh man, so much. Call me. No, I think the major thing that I wish I would have done a little bit more to kind of maybe jumpstart and getting more into things that I was a little bit more interested in was reach out. Nowadays, there's things like LinkedIn, right? Um, get a LinkedIn account, hop in there, start just searching random things. You're going to start seeing it. It's kind of like, what is it, like Facebook or something, where like you get a lot of different types of stories and different types of things that come up. Reach out to people that are in those industries and say, how did you get to where you are today? Right?
Hmm.
If you see someone that you're like, God, that's my dream job, or that is exactly what I want to be playing with, right? That toy, that's what I want to do for work. Click on their name, send them a message. Don't be shy about it. I feel like 90% of the people out there would be so happy to be like, tell you, about how they got there, or even point you to a person that they know that is currently hiring, or even just saying like, hey, it kind of sounds like you're wanting to go in this direction. Google this, or
Hmm.
just reach out to somebody that you see, on something like LinkedIn or something, that they're doing something that sounds like something you want to do. And I think that way you're going to be able to explore more careers and more positions, right, than you would just by asking your high school counselor, or even just going to engineering or architecture or construction management. It's just kind of like those are the three things, but there's like 100 different types of professions that stem from each. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, just reach out to people, talk to people. I know that's kind of weird, Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It's like talk, but yeah, a lot of us totally would. We'd share our stories and point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I can tell you LinkedIn was a great avenue for myself. I mean, I was doing quote unquote BIM for a few years and didn't know the community like that existed until I got
Right.
on the LinkedIn. And honestly, it was the groups. So if you're looking for groups to join, there are a bunch of groups on LinkedIn that may be priority for. Maybe it's not BIM. Maybe you just want to go completely different. But
Hmm.
LinkedIn has groups in there that everyone in there wants to speak their mind. I've met so many people through LinkedIn alone that have one helped me get to yep that have helped me get to where I need to be, and also asking about information. Yeah, if you're out there and you want to ask questions about BIM, message Norma. I'm sure she's more than happy to help. I'm more than happy to help. You can find us on LinkedIn, but please do not be afraid to message some stranger, because more than likely we're all pretty nice.
More than
And
likely, yeah. More than likely, you're not catching them during a deadline, which they
yes,
shouldn't be on LinkedIn anyway. So you'll be
there you
totally
go.
cool.
There you go. Yeah, no, it's a great resource, and I know I when I went going through high school and make a LinkedIn. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of stupid, and then you get into it and you realize, holy crap,
Mm-hmm.
there's a conference going in my backyard that's free. There's a career fair down the road at the local college,
Right.
and I recommend 1,000% go to those things. I mean, I'm going to these new things that are down, startups, and I'm meeting all these tech people in the industry and all these software people in the industry that don't even know what BIM is, and it's like,
And you're
to
just like,
me,
yes, let's
this
talk.
industry is massive. Like, it's how do you not know what it is?
Right? You're
And
like,
then
let me buy you a beer and let's talk.
exactly, and it changes everything. So
Hmm.
feel free to reach out. Norma, thank you again for being on the podcast. This was wonderful. I'll definitely have to have you on again, or
Yeah, let
if
me
you ever
know.
make it up to Idaho, we'll get in the studio and we'll record one here.
For
Um,
sure. I'd
this
love
has
that.
been awesome. Norma, you got anything, any leaving notes or anything for anyone else while they're listening?
Oh man. No,
Yeah, put you on the spot.
I was I was not prepared for that question. No, no. I
Yep,
don't have anything. Just stay curious. That's
that's
my
great.
leaving quote.
That's great. Stay curious, guys. Thanks everybody for listening. If you like what you're listening to, feel free to follow, subscribe to Strive, and stay up to date on episodes that are coming out weekly. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.